Hi everybody, my name is Natasha and I'm dropping by with a piece of gossip I've just picked up from the pond where Prince Bertie the frog lives. Usually I pass on bits of tittle-tattle about the pond life and their goings-on, but today Bertie was talking about a very special celebration. He was telling Tim the tadpole that it's just as important as birthdays and Christmas. Now, before I continue, I'd better ask you a question. Do you like chocolate? You don't? Well, I am surprised. Oh, sorry, I must have misheard you. You do like chocolate after all. Well, in that case, you might well be interested in the story of Bertie's Easter egg hunt. It was springtime on the pond, and all the pond life was sitting by the edge of the water, looking out at all the lovely daffodils that were starting to spring up around the palace vegetable patch. And Sadie the swan was sighing. I do love the spring, Bertie, because all the flowers make me feel so romantic. Colin the carp said, I don't like flowers. People go on about their lovely smell, but I can't smell a thing because I'm a fish. Just then, Tim the tadpole stuck his tiny head out of the water and spotted a young woman walking under the fruit trees and the vegetable patch. That's the most beautiful person I've ever seen, he said. Who can she be, Bertie? Why, said Bertie, that's the lovely Princess Beatrice, of course. Then he croaked rather sadly because, as you probably know, when Bertie was a handsome prince, he was engaged to marry the lovely Princess Beatrice. But then her horrid stepmother turned him into a frog, and he misses his princess quite a bit sometimes. Now she was ever so close to the pond, but she didn't recognise Bertie, because he looked just like a green frog. But all the pond life gazed at her. They were fascinated to catch a glimpse of her royal loveliness, of whom they had heard so much. What's she doing? Asked Tim. Bertie looked longingly at the lovely Princess Beatrice, remembering how he used to stroll with her down to the edge of the pond, and how she would always bring some bread for Sadie the beautiful black swan, and for all the ducks, coots and geese, who would come quacking and honking up to greet her. He noticed that today she was carrying a silk bag over her shoulder, and every now and then she would stoop down to the ground and take something out of her bag and place it carefully under a vegetable or a leaf. The things she was hiding so carefully looked like ostrich eggs, only instead of being white like usual eggs, they were all sorts of bright and attractive colours. What are those? Asked Tim, who is a very curious tadpole and is always asking loads and loads of questions. Those, said Bertie, are Easter eggs. Tim opened his tiny mouth and was about to ask another question, but before he could ask, Bertie answered it. This time of year is called Easter, and all the children who live in the palace and all the children from the nearby villages come to the palace gardens and they hunt for Easter eggs. The rumour goes that they are hidden by the Easter bunnies, but because I was a prince, and princes know everything, I realised that it was really the lovely Princess Beatrice who hid them. And you know what I used to do? I would watch her from the top of the palace tower through my telescope and spot where all the biggest eggs were hidden, especially the ones with jelly beans inside, because those are my favourite. I didn't know you liked eggs, said Tim. These were chocolate eggs, Tim. What's chocolate? Now, little Tim is known for asking some very silly questions,